Hey, and welcome back to my channel. For those who do not know me, I am Dr. Chanté. I am a physician and a life and executive coach, and I help those who are struggling to balance life, career, and faith have resilient comebacks and to become their most authentic self. There's something that's really been on my mind lately, and that is this idea of being your most genuine and authentic self. In this day and age, what does that look like, right? What is it behind the makeup, behind the fancy clothing, behind maybe the persona that you have at work, your work self, behind your mom self, behind your family identity, your sister self, behind your friend self, behind your church self? Who are you really, right? So the reason I wanted to have this platform is so that I can really have these authentic conversations with you. I really want to talk to you. Can we be real for a moment? Can we be real? I just want to talk about this idea of authenticity. First question I want to explore is, who are you? As you may say, hey, my name is such and such, and I'm originally from this place, but no, really, who are you? Do you even know who you are? It's very common that life circumstances and situations and challenges and setbacks have actually started to change who you are, or who you're supposed to be, right? And I find so often in my coaching experience and working with hundreds of patients that oftentimes life has hit so hard, you don't know who you are anymore. Shoot, it happened to me. I didn't know who I was for a while. It didn't change until I started asking myself a few hard questions. And it really was a challenge when I felt like God was saying, what if your situation never changes? If you're like me, maybe you thought, once I finally get it together, I'm gonna change, right? If this person is no longer in my life, everything will be better. If this job was easier, everything would be better. Maybe I just think that sometimes. But changing everything else in your life, although maybe temporarily or to some extent your life may change, it won't get better until you get better, right? You have to actually want to do the work. You have to actually wake up each day and put the effort. And I don't know if you've been waiting for that person to come and rescue you. I don't know if you've been waiting for that thing to just magically change, but it won't happen. I'm so sorry to tell you that it will not happen. You have to actually do the work. And I know you've been praying. And I know you believe that God can work it out. And He can. But He needs you. He needs your participation. Yeah, let that sit for a while. I know you just thought that if you just prayed hard enough, if you fasted long enough, that that situation would just uproot itself and just change. Oh, sorry, that was me just waiting for it to change. And I sat there and I waited. And I thought, like, I'm just going to pray, Lord. I'm trusting in you. I'm going to be devoted to you. And it didn't change. I mean, there are years I had fasted maybe 10 times, and I'm not even exaggerating. And it didn't change. It wasn't until I released the idea that the change that I wanted was the change that God wanted. So often we are just waiting. We're waiting for it to change on its own. But it takes our responsibility. It takes our participation. And that participation doesn't always look like what we thought it would look like. So there's been times that God has told me to do something that didn't even relate to the situation, and then things started to change. So maybe you have to shift your expectation. Maybe it's you thinking a certain thing or hoping that things would work out in a certain way, and you doing them the way you thought it was supposed to be, when all along God is telling you a different way to do it. He's showing you a different direction. So you have to start listening for that. And I know this is not easy to digest. Maybe you need to take some notes. Maybe you need to pray through it. Maybe you need to think about it. But I want to have these true conversations because I've walked in Christianity for years thinking that if I'm the nice person, if I'm caring, if I listen, if I sacrifice, if I give, then my situation will change and that God will honor that. And yes, He does. He honors our character. He honors our obedience. He honors us doing the right thing, but it takes our participation. And until you start moving, and not necessarily moving in the way that you thought you should move, moving in the way that He told you to move, then you start to see changes. And going back to this question about who are you means you have to dig a little deeper. You have to start really seeing yourself the way He sees you. And a lot of us are struggling with our identity. We're struggling with knowing who we are because we've defined ourselves based on what our situation looks like right now. And what it looks like right now is not necessarily who you are, right? You could have had trauma. You could have had challenges. You could have had difficulties. You could have gone through situations that have kind of altered even your personality. Maybe you're short-tempered now. Maybe you're not trusting as much now. Maybe you are in survival mode right now. Maybe you are not as communicative or talkative right now because of that thing that happened in the past. And it's okay, right? I'm not judging you because I've had those seasons where I have really had to survive. I've had to survive. I've just had to make it through. And that's okay. I'm not saying that you have to change your whole life tomorrow, but I am saying that you can make a decision today, that you can take a step today, because you getting to that thriving season, you getting to be the woman that you're called to be, is going to take some effort. It's going to take some intentionality. It's going to take taking a hard step. It's going to take asking those hard questions. And it's going to take you knowing who you really are.